Good evening, and welcome to another nauseating version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your ne plus ultra and nostalgic host, Voice of Doom. Alright. I'm running out of memory again, but luckily my kid taught me how to transfer my diatribes onto a thumb drive so I can erase them off my hard drive or whatever the hell it is and have more room, but I might have room for one more diatribe. And time is growing short, so it's really not necessary to have a whole lot of space. I really don't want to gloat or say I told you so. It's not in my nature to be, that kind of person who, you see what's happening? But I've been preaching for the last 5 years about the downfall of Western civilization. And now that it's actually happening, all my predictions have come true. People are having a cow. And it hasn't even started in earnest yet. It's just starting to crumble. We're past that point on Niagara Falls where, the point of no return, but we haven't yet gone over the falls. Okay. I see a lot of things on YouTube and TikTok. People who are they can't afford to live anymore. That's what they're saying. They're stealing all my phrases. And I see people with 100,000 subscribers, and they borrow from other sources and then cobble them together, make a few little commentaries, and they get 28,000 views in 8 hours. And I am a bit bitter about it because I get 50 views if I'm lucky on one single video. That's if I'm lucky. Nobody watches me. Nobody watched me in the beginning, middle, or end when I warned everybody about what's happening and what's going to happen. And now people can't afford to live. They're living in their cars. They're living in their vans. They're going from place to place, just barely eking by. And even people that make good money are saying they can't make it. I feel very fortunate that the timing in my life afforded me the opportunity to, at least right now, afford to live. And I turned 65 just in time to take Medicare. And through certain unfortunate events, I've been able to collect Social Security before my retirement age. Retirement, that's a good one. But I've been reasonably lucky, probably because I stumbled across the mystic law back 35 years ago and have tried to use cause and effect to my benefit. But it's just a shame that when you actually see the downfall of Western civilization and the downfall of humankind as a whole, that I wish people had at least watched my channel more, so maybe they at least wouldn't be surprised. Maybe they wouldn't be prepared, but they wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, things are coming to an end. But I wanted to talk about something a little different today, which I've talked about before a little bit, but I feel like this artificial intelligence business is going to be the destruction of the human spirit. And I'll tell you why. When you don't know what's real anymore, then things that in the past, and by past I mean the last 2-4 years ago, might have given you an emotional, rush or a feeling or It would bring out, your sympathy, or, maybe even make you kind of, tearful or nostalgic or what have you. But now that we don't know what's real anymore, it's taken away the joy of just having human feelings. And I'll give you examples. Listening to the talk radio, and the DJ or the talk radio guy was saying he wanted to write a Western country song. And so he put in a few prompts into AI. He said, I want you to write a song about, whatever, 3 people in a love triangle in western Kansas or whatever, and blah, 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 and mention the sundown and mention this and that. Well, he put it into AI, and the song that came out is something that could be a #1 hit on the country charts. Just by putting in those prompts, the computer came up with a song that by anybody else, what's his name, the country guy, would make millions of dollars off of, but this computer made it up in like 10 seconds. And that got me depressed because I realized that human creativity is going to be usurped. And then I go to YouTube and I watch various channels that cobble together these different things off TikTok and this and that. And one might be about dating, and one might be about relationships, and one might be about the end of the world, and one might be about prepping or whatever. But I see things that I know when you think about it, instead of watching something passively and taking it at face value, you realize that it's not real. I saw a thing the other day that was saying that the Secretary of the Navy was arrested for having $1 million worth of fentanyl in his apartment, and I think about $20 million in cash, and they found. They show the SWAT team doing a raid on this guy's apartment, and I go, if this was real, then it would be big news. And so I looked up everything. I looked up all the secretaries of the navies to see if I could find the guy's name that they came up with, or any news about this or that. Well, there not only wasn't a secretary of the Navy by that name, but the whole thing was made up. Some clickbait on a thing saying Secretary of the Navy arrested for drug running. Now, come on. I knew it was fake at first, but then I wanted to make sure that I knew that it was fake, and it was fake. Then I see on some other channel couples having an argument, and they're, going at it tooth and nail, and then the man gets disgusted and drops the wife off in the middle of the highway and says, "Get out, and I'm done with you." And it's all very tragic. And then I watched it carefully and I go, wait a minute, these people had 2 phones on each of them, and they're having this tete-a-tete. And they edited it all and spliced it all together to get views. Because when you're having an argument for real and maybe one person has their phone on, then you get the raw image of someone or a couple arguing. But when you see them go back and forth and cut back and forth to this and that and having this argument, then you realize it's made up. They put it all together to get views. And then the worst one, I'm going through the shorts on YouTube, and it's a very touching thing. Oh, it's so heart-wrenching. It's so beautiful. Bobcat comes up to the window, and it's snowing, and it's a stormy day, and scratching at the window, and the person opens up the door, and the bobcat comes in, and the big old golden retriever puts his body over the bobcat to get it warm, and then they have captions, and my dog kept the bobcat warm, and the bobcat's sleeping with the dog, and they're all cuddling, and they were like that for 3 days. And then they show the bobcat storm is over, and the bobcat is let out and it runs away, and the dog is staring wistfully out the door, wondering where his friend is, and waits and waits. And then caption, a year later, the bobcat comes back with its offspring, and the dog is jumping up for joy, and then the little bobcats are cuddling up against the dog. And it was very touching, and you had the Christina Perry song, 1,000 Years. They use the same songs, Alphaville, Lady Gaga, all these touching songs to tug at your heartstrings, and I was really touched by it, and it was beautiful. And I realized, wait a minute. They have the same phone at the same door, and a year later the bobcat comes back. Come on. So that got me a little pissed, because it's playing with my emotions. And now I realize I don't believe a damn thing I see. If I don't see it physically outside happening, which I see deer outside, 5 or 6 of them hanging out in my yard, and they freeze when they see me, and they know that I'm safe, and it's kind of nice to see 5 deer, 6 deer with a family hanging out in your yard. And I know it's real, because I see it with my own eyes. I'm not seeing some generated, whatever. And I will say this, that this is real, because I free flow my ideas and my thoughts from beginning to end, and no edits and no repeats. So you go back to my 570 videos, and they're all real, and they're all sincere. I don't make anything up. And I've talked about life and birth and death and sickness and dying and being at odds with yourself. And I've never lied. Never. I didn't lie about Jello Biafra, and I didn't lie about all the things I've done. I don't need to lie. I've had an interesting life, and I don't regret a thing. But at least I can say I was real. And when they dig up my computer from the rubble 1,000 years from now, they can watch sincere reality. And I'm kind of proud of that. But I just find it depressing that all creativity can be usurped by a computer. Write a book, write a song, do a painting, do anything artistic. Can all be done with AI. So we're done. I mean, I just gave you a good reason why we're done. We won't have any emotions left. We won't be able to believe in anything. And people are all getting in despair. And I can see and hear in their voices, if it's not AI, that there may be a rash of people leaving this mortal coil by their own accord, because they just can't do it anymore. They want to move to other countries as if it's going to be better somewhere else. Move to Canada? It's worse there. Move to Mexico, or maybe Belize, I don't know. But leave their comfort zone because they're not comfortable here anymore. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. It's not a really good one, but and there was another mass shooting in Rhode Island today. It's living up to its 2 a day average. On average, there's 2 mass shootings a day. So I'll leave you with that happy note. It's to be current. It's Brown University in Rhode Island. 10 people shot, 2 killed, and that qualifies as a mass shooting. Gun violence, as the liberal idiot mayor said. I really get sick of those memes or cliches. No, it's not people being shooters, it's gun violence. These guns go whirring around by themselves and shoot people. But I'll leave it there. I just wanted to talk to you about what I'm concerned about, and the fact that maybe I'll shut my emotions down because there's no point in getting affected by anything. So that's something for you to think about, and I'll talk to you later, if there is a later, which I seriously doubt. All right, goodbye.